Hello everyone, welcome back to the Please Listen podcast. I'm your host, John Follett, and in this episode, I'm going to tell you guys a story. A story about an underdog. One who, against all odds, was able to reach new heights and achieve things that others thought were impossible. However, this story does not have a good ending. It has an unexpected, tragic ending. I won't get into it now, but I am talking about the wondrous story of Wonder Man, Marvel's Wonder Man, a show that came out earlier this year. I'm going to get into it later in this episode, the story of Wonder Man. So stay tuned if you want to hear me talk about that. Right now, there are a couple small things I want to talk about to start the show off. One, there's a big expo that not everybody, some people have been talking about. It's like the ultimate Disney fan event, I think is what it's called. D23 Expo. It's about, when was San Diego Comic-Con? It was like 2 weeks ago, right? And then 2 weeks later we got D23, where even more stuff was announced from Marvel and other Disney-related brands. And then in October, I saw the New York Comic-Con is happening, and I'm sure Marvel's going to have a panel there, and they're going to announce even more stuff. I did a little reaction to the Marvel segment of the D23 like movie announcement panel or whatever. That was in the last episode. I'll put a card there if you want to check that out. And I also did a reaction to the San Diego Comic-Con Marvel Hall H panel, so I'll also put a card there. There were some things unrelated to Marvel that were shown there. I sat through like 2 hours of them talking about, they had the Pixar thing. They were announcing Coco 2. Everybody was making fun of Coco's new haircut in the second movie. There was, after they announced the Coco 2 movie, they were like, for fans of Coco, check them out in the next Kingdom Hearts game. They're putting Coco in Kingdom Hearts. If you don't know Kingdom Hearts is a video game series where there's this little anime boy named Sora. And it's like, is it in the Final Fan? Okay, I'm not that much of a... This is like a realm of video games that I have no clue about. Okay? I think there's this video game series called Final Fantasy, which is very old, very classic. There's like 15 of them. And they're like it's like Japanese, like little anime characters with swords. And it's pretty popular. And there is a game series, I think it's in the same universe as the Final Fantasy. And in the Kingdom Hearts games, the characters from those games interact with Disney movies. Like they go to the universes of Disney movies. I know there's like, you play it like your main trio is like, the main character who's Sora, he's like a little anime boy. He has like a key sword, keyblade, that's what it's called. I know that. And then you play Sora, and then there's Donald and Goofy from Mickey Mouse. And those are like your three main characters, and you go to different, you're hanging out with like Toy Story, and you're like, hey, look, it's Woody voiced by Tom Hanks' brother who voices Woody, and all the things that they can't afford Tom Hanks in. What's going on? It's Mike and Sully. My only exposure and my only knowledge of Kingdom Hearts comes from Super Smash Bros. Because he was a DLC character in that. That's all I know about Kingdom Hearts. I know they have a crazy big fan base. I know... The only thing I know is about... I know it by reputation only. I know that it's famous for having, similar to Kingdom Hearts, a very convoluted and confusing story. This is just what I've heard. I don't know how rabid the fan base is, so I'm just saying what I've heard. This is just what I've gathered from other people talking, not me, other people's opinions. That Kingdom Hearts has a crazy story, and it's like crazy seeing like this like RPG, like insane story with like different, I don't know, and then Mickey Mouse is there. There's just like crazy like guys like sword fighting or whatever. Not like that, guys. Come on. And then Mickey Mouse shows up. there was a fourth game announced. I think it was announced a few months ago. And then at the Pixar panel, they were like, guess what? Coco. They're going to go to Coco in the next Kingdom Hearts game. And Sora is going to culturally appropriate Mexican culture. So look out for that. They didn't say that, but you know. They also announced like a Kingdom Hearts series. It's set in the Kingdom Hearts world. So that's just more lore to throw on to the whole lore pile. And I remember a while ago, I was like, maybe I should play these Kingdom Hearts games because I like Disney movies. I would like to play, you know, the third one where they go to Toy Story Land. And I think also Monsters, Inc. I would love to play it with Mike and Sully. And also I think it would just be interesting to see if I could understand. So I had this idea. I want to sometime in the future, in the near future, or maybe distant future, I want to live stream myself on this channel, maybe on Twitch also. I don't know. I'm not very knowledgeable about Twitch streaming. I wanted to sit down and I wanted to play all the Kingdom Hearts games. And I wanted to try my hardest to understand the story, like from beginning to end. And I know, because I looked into like what the whole Kingdom Hearts story entails. And there's games, and then they have, it's so confusing because I was like, they have like this package of like all the Kingdom Hearts stuff, that the Ultimate Collector's Edition or whatever. And it's like the Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, 3. And then there's like Kingdom Hearts like 2.5 like remixed deluxe edition or some weird thing where it's like, I would love to just live stream it and just get my raw, because I have next to no clue what happens in those games. I just know that Mickey Mouse shows up and he's like badass. He's so badass. So yeah, they announced that at D23. A whole bunch of Pixar news. They have Incredibles 3. It's kind of cool. I mean, Incredibles 2 was like 14 years too late. I think I've only seen that movie once. And then they have the one with Mark Ruffalo where he plays an Italian cat. There was the new Simpsons movie. I also mentioned that when I was live reacting to it. And new Simpsons movie, when I was a kid, my main exposure to The Simpsons was that Simpsons movie, that first Simpsons movie, and the mobile app, the mobile game that they had, Simpsons Tapped Out. Those were like, I barely even watched the show. It was just that movie and that game, and I was like, I love The Simpsons. So now they're making a second Simpsons movie, and they are really marketing this movie. The Simpsons show is still going on. Like you're acting like people are like starved of Simpsons content. You're like, get ready to see The Simpsons on the big screen. It's the first, like it's Star Wars. Like when the Force Awakens came out, it's like, you haven't seen Star Wars on your screen in 15 years. But it's like, I saw season 34 last week. Interesting. Hopefully they'll bring back the pig. The spider pig. Spider pig? I don't know. And then there was also Star Wars stuff. There was Ahsoka season 2. I'm not very kind to a lot of Star Wars projects. And Ahsoka season 1 specifically, I thought that season was so boring. And it's meant to be like a continuation of this animated show called Star Wars Rebels. I've never seen it. I know people are probably like, you haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, but you watched Ahsoka? I shouldn't have to watch that show to think that this one is good. I just remember being bored out of my mind. And that's my thoughts, like, for most Star Wars things to come out. Especially the Disney Plus shows. I'm like, can we please get a move on, guys? I know this is like probably pretty cool to some guy who's like, is that the character from the comic? But I'm like, please, can we? They have like the hero shots of like it's like every other scene. They have like like the Spider-Man No Way Home. People make fun of it because it's like Andrew Garfield takes off his mask and then he pauses for like applause. Those like Star Wars shows where they're bringing back characters from cartoons. That's like every other scene. They have like some thing that the fans like go crazy about. It could be like a spaceship or like a droid or like a plant, an alien plant. It's at the blue milk. It's the blue milk. You know what I mean? It's the blue milk. Oh my god. Sorry, but yeah, Ahsoka. I didn't watch the trailer for this show. I know they're bringing back Anakin Skywalker for this one, just like they brought him back in the first season and in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. They really like bringing back, and I guess that's just emblematic of my how I've lost interest, because I'm like, when I was a kid, I have very mixed feelings, a lot of negative feelings about those prequel movies with Hayden Christensen as Anakin. But like, he was like, when I was a kid, he was like one of my heroes. You know, the few episodes of Clone Wars that I watched, I mainly had like the Legos, and I played the Lego games, the Clone Wars Lego game, especially with Anakin. And I liked the at least the third prequel movie when I was a kid. And I was like, he's so cool. But now like they're bringing him back in this, and I'm like, okay, can we guys let it go? And I'm seeing like Ewan McGregor, and no hate to these guys that play the characters. You know, Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen. But I saw a thing where it's like, Ewan McGregor was like, I want them to bring me back as Obi. He's like Scottish. I can't do his accent. He's like, it's up to Disney to bring back Obi-Wan. I'm okay doing Obi-Wan again. It's like, dude, they brought back Obi-Wan once before and everybody hated it. And then I don't know if this one's real, but Hayden Christensen was like, yeah, me, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, like all characters who played characters in the prequels. They're like, we're ready to do make a Clone Wars live action movie. Guys, you're a little too late to that. The Clone Wars show was started back in like the early 2000s, and it ended like 5 years ago. Like, we've already seen the entire Clone Wars in animated form. What would the movie be? I guess maybe, is there like I think there's like a little space between Attack of the Clones and the start of the Clone Wars. Maybe you could explore that area, because we need to see everything. I'm like, I mean, I bet they just, I can't blame them for wanting a big fat, Disney paycheck, but it's kind of funny just seeing like, we're ready to be brought back again. And then I talked about the Marvel part of the panel in the last episode. They had the X-Men cast, which I liked. The Avengers Doomsday special look, which was so cool. The Vision Quest trailer, which also looked cool. And unfortunately, they were like, sorry guys, there's no Groot movie coming out. I know Vin Diesel keeps posting like weird images of Groot and being like, hashtag the Arbor King, whatever the hell that means. Have you seen this? I saw this like 2 in very quick succession, like recently, of just Vin Diesel all the time. Let me pull it up. All the time he likes to post these images of, they're like, I don't know if they're concept art, they're like fan art. He doesn't credit or say anything about it. It's just, they're like black and white pictures of Groot from his Marvel character Groot. And let me find the most recent one right here. This one is 13 years ago. Marvel sent over a book of superheroes. My excited 3-year-old at the time pointed to the tree and said, Dad. No armor, no shield, no hammer, just a tree. Oh, damn. Okay. He has a story for why he chose Groot. He said, oh, it looks like it's the 16th. Oh, wait. Oh. This week he turned 16. I thought he was talking about the character of Groot. I think he's talking about his son. So he's celebrating his son's birthday by being like, look at this cool picture of Groot. Then he says the hashtag the Arbor King. And I think the Arbor King was making his own rumor for like, look, there's another one right here. It's Groot, and is that Iron Man at the bottom? Look at this. Like, Groot's never looked like this. So what is his art from? It says unstoppable, and then it's just hashtag the Arbor King, hashtag Alpha Groot, hashtag Marvel, hashtag Groot. Yeah, this one, another. He just goes, the Arbor King, you are Groot, happy creative. I mean, it's good that he's a fan of his character Groot. I don't understand the significance of these. This is the same artwork again. The Arbor King, ... I had the pleasure of working with Dennis Hopper and Knockaround Guys. So whether it's a tree or an infamous New York detective, the Riddick universe, or the Fest, you've always been there, thank you. And he's celebrating like working with this guy Dennis Hopper. And he's by posting a picture of Groot and being like, hell yeah, look at Groot. I don't get it. But unfortunately there was no Groot announcement movie. But yeah, that was D23. Kind of another unrelated news. I just saw that Dave Bautista was announced to have been cast as Kratos in the God of War TV series. And God of War is as a video game series. There was like 3 back in like the PS2 era. And then they like reinvented it, and he's like old now and he has a son or whatever. And they're making They're also making a spin-off game with Deborah Ann Woll, who plays Karen Page in Daredevil. So I thought that was pretty cool. She plays Kratos' wife in the games. They're making a series based on those games, and I haven't never played one, but I've always liked the story in them. I've seen like cutscenes of them. They're like really well acted, like the 3D like animation or whatever, like it looks pretty good. So I'm glad to like get the story of those games without having, like the 20 hours of gameplay in between. So I can watch that story just as a TV narrative. And when they originally casted the show, it wasn't Dave Bautista's Kratos. It was this other guy, Ryan Hurst, who he was in the Odyssey for a bit. He's like Tom Holland's like trainer guy. And that guy got like a really bad injury, and he was going to take like months to recover. And instead of like waiting and halting production, they decided to just recast him and reshoot all of Kratos' scenes with this new actor. And we were like waiting to see who the new actor was going to be. And I just saw that it was Dave Bautista. Not to be mean to the Ryan Hurst guy, but when I saw that Dave Bautista was cast as Kratos, I was like, I am actually more inclined to watch this show. No hate against the Ryan Hurst guy. I'm sure he's a great actor. But I'm a real big fan of Dave Bautista. He's an amazing actor, in my opinion. And maybe this is just because I haven't seen Ryan Hurst in that many things. But when I saw Dave Bautista, I'm like, damn, he fits the bill of Kratos a lot better. Because he has, in the games, the ones that this show's based on, Kratos is voiced by this guy. He has like this real deep voice, this deep gravelly voice. Dave Bautista also has that, and he also just like looks like Kratos because he's bald and he has a beard. So just, like from the jump, he already looks like him. I don't know. Maybe I'm an asshole for being like, oh, now I'm gonna watch the show that the first guy got replaced. I got nothing against the first guy, but I think Dave Bautista is just such an amazing actor. He's more than proven himself. Like obviously he was Drax in the Guardians movies, but also he was in Blade Runner and Dune, other stuff probably. So yeah, I think I like the choice of him as Kratos. Personally. Moving on from that, one more thing before we talk about get into the meat and potatoes. I rewatched the movie in the theater. I saw Spider-Man Brand New Day once again in IMAX because they've released it in IMAX like 2 weeks after its initial release because I guess the Odyssey was taking up all the IMAX theaters. They had to wait a little bit to be like, now the movie's in IMAX. And if this movie wasn't making enough money, re-releasing it in a even bigger format will definitely get a couple of people to watch the movie again, aka me. I mean, this is probably the most I've rewatched the movie in theaters. I've seen it 3 times in theaters. I think the most I've only ever seen a movie was twice. And I mean, it makes sense because it's still such an amazing movie. Seeing it in that like the big screen, great. I don't think the entire thing was filmed in IMAX. I don't remember hearing it. I didn't know any parts were filmed in IMAX at all. I thought it was made. That's weird. Why did they release it in IMAX? I thought the movie was made specifically for Screen X. That's what they said in all the interviews. They were like, we made this movie to be for the prime viewing experience for this movie is Screen X. This is how you should watch the movie. Screen X is the best way to watch a movie. Actually, that's what they were saying in the interviews. Were they lying? Was that just like a marketing thing for Screen X because they needed Screen X promo or something? So I think just the non-IMAX scenes, at least for my theater, they just kind of zoomed it in. And then they had, I think the action scenes, they're like the IMAX enhanced, where you could see the movie in even bigger aspect ratio, which is cool. I mean, like the Hulk fight in the IMAX format, amazing. The hand fight also, just seeing, it's the great picture, great sound. That's what it says at the beginning of the IMAX thing, like amazing picture, stunning sound. And yeah, I still love the movie, and I've seen a lot of, I guess one of the main talking points for this movie centers around the main antagonist for this movie, or the initial antagonist before there's a little switch up. Spoilers, but everybody knows Jean Grey's in this movie, played by Sadie Sink, and she starts off the movie as like the main antagonist because she's doing like the mind hop and she's controlling people and making them do bad shit. And then there's like a little switch around where you find out that she was done wrong by Damage Control, the Department of Damage Control, run by Bill Metzger. And all that she's doing in the movie is she's trying to get her sister because she believes that she knows that they kidnapped her and she's trying to get her back. But then she finds out that her sister died, and that makes her real angry. And a lot of people have brought up the morality of Jean Grey's actions, how morally gray Jean Grey is. Many people have made the point that what Jean Grey does in this movie is too unforgivable, and that she's irredeemable, and that she shouldn't be treated as she should be villainized. She shouldn't be able to just go walk away, and then in the X-Men movie she's going to be like a hero. People don't think she deserves that, and it's kind of annoying hearing that discourse. And at first when I saw it, I kind of agree with it, especially the thing like there's the guy who she controls, like it's like an old guy who, while she's controlling him, he steps back into the road and he gets hit by a car. Like that guy might be dead. She might have indirectly caused the death of that person. But I don't know. She does the thing with MJ, controlling MJ and like pretending that she remembers Peter and gets her to kiss him, or gets him to kiss her as MJ, and then revealing that she's in control, kind of just psychologically torturing him and also kind of forcing him to kiss MJ under false pretenses. And her powers, of hopping into someone's mind is a violation, going inside of someone's mind and making them do things that they can't consent to or that they have no control over. However, I think the arguments have become, ironically, the opinions on this are very black and white. And I think a lot of people maybe are upset because this doesn't fit in line with like Jean Grey that they're used to or that they remember from the comic books. Because, she's more of a, I guess, unless when she gets like the Phoenix Force, that's when she does like bad shit. But that's like not really her. It's more like a separate entity like inhabiting her. But she's supposed to be more of like a, altruistic character, and her doing these messed up things is like I'm sure it's hard to square with a lot of fans of the character. I don't like it though, because it just saying that she's like just going flat out like she's a villain and what she did is unforgivable. I think it kind of ignores what was done to her, and like she's going against like this big government agency where they have like 100 facilities in New York and all this money and resources. They scrubbed like all information of like her and her sister from like every database or whatever. If she doesn't have any money or any resources, she's like, I don't even think she's like, I mean, if we're going by the actor's age, she's like 22, but I think Jean Grey might even be younger than that. And Sarah, I'm not sure how old Sarah was when they captured her, but they were both very young. I think they were both like teenage girls. Especially when you get to that they have the flashback with Jean and Sarah. Many people have pointed at this of being like why you shouldn't feel sympathy for Jean. The scene where they're in the park and they're like controlling people. They're like, Jean is like, use your powers on her, and Sarah's hopping from one person to one person and being like, look at these two people, they're hopping into people's mind. That's a violation and that's messed up and that's wrong, and that's unforgivable because they're just doing that to random people that didn't ask for it or didn't consent to it. But I think in that instance, they're like young girls. I don't know. I don't like it how it's like people being like, why does this 16-year-old girl not have the same understanding of morality and the complexities of ethics as me, a 40-year-old Reddit philosopher, and it's this weird phenomenon. I feel like I've talked about it before with characters, especially in like superhero comic book movies, because there have been many characters in the past who've done bad things, right? Not necessarily bad people or evil people, but they've done bad things. A lot of morally gray, complex characters, such as Scarlet Witch, Wanda. In WandaVision, she does something that isn't necessarily very nice or very morally right, but she does it for reasons, because of as like a reaction to how life is just done like life has beat her down, you know? Same with Jean. She's in like this unwinnable scenario against this government agency that has all these resources, and she's just like, she's reacting, and she's becoming radicalized, and then to use that as like her being radicalized by this system to be like, this is, and then condemning her instead of the system that turned her into that. Fans like want a character who is squeaky clean, or like fans want a character who is squeaky clean. That way they can, you know, make their fan cams and their fan edits and their fan art, their cosplays, and be like, oh, look at this cute little innocent potato. Look, that never does wrong. Look at my sweet little character. And you can't do that if it's not as cute if your character is like a morally gray, complex character. It's less cute when that happens, unless they're like a sweet little innocent, nice little baby, you know? I mean, it's the same with, I think that's also why in real life, a lot of people that do bad things, that have all these fans who have connected their identities to liking this person, they're going to defend them if they do something horrible. Cause it's like, I've become like like I've symbiotically attached myself to liking this person. So any attack on them is an attack on me. And people will do that with their comfort characters, which is why, well, I don't have a problem with Wanda fans. You can't deny that she did something wrong. Doesn't mean she's a bad person, that didn't make sense why she did it. Obviously, I feel sympathy towards Wanda. And people being like, making fun of the line in WandaVision where it's like, they'll never understand how much you sacrificed. I don't think that's a dumb line because, you know, in WandaVision, she's very narrow-minded and has like an emotional reaction to just all the stuff in her life that she cared about being taken from her. So she tries to emulate a happy life with all the people she loves. And in doing so, she just enslaves the whole town. And when she realizes that, you know, that's a bad thing to do, she gives up the happy life that she could have lived if she had no empathy for any of the other innocent people. It's interesting to talk about, and it's part of the reason why WandaVision garnered a lot of conversation. But to just go, I mean, in either direction, to just go, Wanda is a bad person for doing that. Or Wanda didn't do anything wrong, actually. It scrubs away any nuance or any conversations that can be had when the whole reason for making anything in the first place is to generate conversation. I think it's the same here by just going like, Jean is a villain. It's unforgivable what she did. For me, it makes it interesting going in, knowing she's going to be in the X-Men movie, going from this where she does a lot of bad things. I want to see her reconcile with this. And she's setting Jean up as like this troubled, misguided, kid going to this school for mutants, hopefully to be like mentored by Professor X to be a better person. I think it's interesting. It's a good like long-term arc. Anyways, that's enough about Brand New Day. Let's move on from that. That movie's old. It's like a month old. We're over it. Let's talk about something even older. This is sort of a retrospective. This came out earlier this year. This is the story that I teased. It was a show that came out earlier this year. All 8 episodes dropped on the same day. And usually when Marvel does that, people assume it's just like they're not confident and like people will stay tuned day after day. So they're just like drop it all in one day and just wipe your hands with it. It's done. However, it did garner a lot of positive reception when it came out. That is the show Wonder Man. It's co-created by Destin Daniel Cretton, the director of Spider-Man Brand New Day and Shang-Chi, 2 Marvel movies. And Andrew Guest, who I don't know who that is, but he co-created the show also. And it's about this character, Simon Williams is his name, and played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is his name. And this guy, I like this guy, the guy who plays Wonder Man. I think he has, I've seen him in the Watchmen show where he plays Dr. Manhattan, and then he has a small part in the movie Us, the Jordan Peele movie Us. I think those are I've never seen his Aquaman movies, but I think he has. As soon as I heard that he was cast as Simon Williams, I haven't read that many comics with Wonder Man in them. I like his casting because I think Yahya has like star power. He has like, I don't know, he has like a certain charisma to him that I like. He's tall too. He's like humongous. He's such a tall man. If you know me, if you listened to me in the past, you know that I have I have a lot of grievances with when superhero media decides to keep the character out of the costume and barely have any superheroics in their show or movie. And I especially said that about Lanterns, which is a show that's airing right now. And this show, I may seem like a hypocrite because this show isn't really about superheroes at all. Because Wonder Man is the character, Wonder Man is an in-universe movie that came out in like the 80s. It's getting like rebooted in the present day in the Marvel universe. And Simon Williams is an actor who's auditioning for that role of Wonder Man. And there's really only like one action scene really. And he doesn't really wear costumes or like there's no like super villain to fight at the end. So it may seem like I should hate this, but I think the way that the show is constructed, I think it works, and I don't really have a problem with there being, because here's the thing. I did say that like in the case of Lanterns, it's annoying that it's like kind of not really a superhero show. But I think if it works with the character, like the Clayface movie isn't going to be like a superhero movie either. I don't have a problem with it. And I think this, from what I know about Wonder Man, he's like a Hollywood guy. He was a stunt man, and then he was like an actor, and he just also has superpowers. And sometimes he's in the Avengers, but I feel like his main thing is that he's like a Hollywood celebrity type. And so that's what this show is about. This show is more of just like an actor's journey to being in a big budget superhero movie in universe. And he just also happens to have superpowers. I'll go episode by episode. It's pretty short season. A lot of the episodes barely even go past half an hour if you're not counting credits. It's a breeze to sit through. It's really well made show, and it got nominated for an Emmy. The Yahya Abdul-Mateen got nominated for an Emmy for this show, which is, I don't think that's very common for a Marvel show to do. That makes it extra upsetting what Marvel decides to do. But we're not that part of the story yet. You have to wait. We're going to talk about each episode in order. Episode 1, we see Simon is like he's an actor. He's on the set of American Horror Story. It's cool seeing like the Hollywood in the MCU. It's mostly just the same as Hollywood here, but there's like, you see like a poster for like Rogers the Musical, the movie. He's like very pedantic about the characters that he plays, even if it's like something small, like a waiter or like a professor. He's always giving like notes and being like, can we change this, and like wanting to give his characters like extra depth, even if he's going to be in a thing for like 30 seconds. And it gets him fired. He's a struggling actor in LA, of course. He drives the shittiest car ever. I thought it was funny. I mean, it's not that bad of a car. It's like an old car. The thing with it though is those seatbelts on the car. They're like on these like tracks, and they have to like they start like at where the dashboard is, and you have to like pull it through the track to the normal seatbelt position, and then lock it in. And then when you open the door, it slides back out. Goes. I think that's just like it's a weird feature for. Maybe that's just, is that how seatbelts used to be, or is it just that type of car? I can imagine it being very annoying to have a car like that. I guess the seatbelts are attached to the door. I'm not really sure how it works, but I just that little detail of the car, I was just like, damn, I would hate to have that. And Simon was a real big fan of the Wonder Man movie. His dad showed it to him when he was a kid, so it's a very special movie to him. And he meets a famous reoccurring Marvel character, Trevor Slattery, played by Sir Ben Kingsley. And this is a character who first appeared in Iron Man 3. He played the Mandarin, but he was an actor playing the Mandarin. And then they made like a little one shot with him. And then he reappeared like 10 something years later in the Shang-Chi movie, which was directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. And I think it's nice how Destin took Trevor from Shang-Chi and then continued his journey on here. And he's the one who informs him about the rebooting Wonder Man with this really accomplished director, Von Kovac. And Wonder Man's like, I gotta be in this part. And so he wriggles his way into the audition. And so him and Trevor are both auditioning for the role of Wonder Man. The wrinkle with that is that we reveal at the end of the first episode is that Trevor is being assigned by the Department of Damage Control, which we've seen. It was introduced in the Spider-Man Homecoming, and it was in some of the other Spider-Man movies, and then She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, maybe something else, I don't remember. But mainly those things. Damage Control is in this, and also Agent Cleary, who was in No Way Home, and I think also Miss Marvel. He returns, and they're using Trevor. They planted him in that theater that him and Simon met, and Trevor's task is to try and get dirt on Simon, because they know that he has powers, or they suspect that he has powers, and the Department of Damage Control is trying to, lock up, detain people that have powers. And I think it's cool seeing this Damage Control get developed on, and even in the Spider-Man movie, because in this they're penny pinching, they have no money or resources or whatever, but in the Spider-Man movie it looks like they've evolved and have gained a lot of funding and power. So it's nice seeing Destin Daniel Cretton. Seems like he's helping build the DODC into, I assume it's going to be important in the next MCU saga when it's mutants and they're capturing mutants. In the Spider-Man movie they have those inhibitors now that can, they're universal to any mutant ability. So Spider-Man really fucked up by giving them that. Every episode of the show is I would say episodic. There's overarching plots. It's mostly the Wonder Man plot of trying to get into the movie, and then the Trevor working with the DODC plot. Those are overarching, but every episode, I like how they each have their own separate identity to them. I could pick out this is the episode where they do the self-tape, or this is the episode where they go to the mom's birthday. This is the one where they have the interview. So I like that, how every episode is distinguishable from one another, because the criticism for a lot of the Marvel Disney Plus shows is that they're just one long movie spread out, and they could just be condensed into a movie. So making it a show is just kind of pointless. But this one, I feel like every episode is segmented in a way that makes sense. Episode 2 is Simon trying to get a self-tape for a role, and it's like a 30-second self-tape where he's a waiter being would you like to order that to your room? And he I think at the end of the first episode, his powers is he can I really like the way that Simon's powers look in this, because his skin ripples, and he has little purple little, I don't know, sparks kind of fly. His eyes have this cool solar flare looking pattern, and he lets out energy and kind of explodes. And he does that in his apartment, so his apartment's all messed up, and so he's I can't film in this one because I accidentally cracked open my wall, one of my walls. So they try to find a place to self-tape. A lot of the episodes they have a cold open of a flashback of something in one of the characters' pasts. And episode 2 starts with Trevor in LAX airport. I assume this is he, after Shang-Chi, he stayed in Ta Lo for a bit, and then he's all right, I'm gonna go back to LA and try to pursue acting again. And then he shows back up in LA, and the FBI instantly arrest him because he was a terrorist and he got broken out of prison. And then that's when they make the deal. It's either Trevor goes back to prison or he tries to get dirt on Simon, and that's when he agrees to do it. But most of the episode is just Simon and Trevor. Trevor's tasked with getting data off of Simon's computer to see if there's evidence of him having powers. And since Simon doesn't want to show his messed up apartment, he's we gotta find somewhere else to do my self-tape. And they end up at one of Trevor's friends' houses, acting friends, and it turns out it's Joe Pantoliano, who's a famous actor. He was in The Matrix, The Sopranos, some other things probably. And he plays himself in this show, just an asshole version of himself. And there's a few times that happens in this show, just actors playing themselves, but a heightened version, a more comedic version. And he's in there, and they have a moment where they're just Joe Pantoliano's yeah, acting is just a job. It's whatever. That's just, it just pays the bills. It's whatever. But Simon and Trevor, they both deeply care about acting, and they think it's a calling. That's what Trevor says. It's a calling. After all that, they just end up back at Simon's apartment, where he started, and then they do the self-tape. And Trevor sees the big crack in the wall, but he's it's okay. And they're starting to become friends. But then the next episode is when they go to Simon's mom's birthday, and this is where we meet a lot of his extended family's there. They're all assholes. They're making fun of like his acting job, especially like his brother. His brother's in this, and they're like their main source of conflict is like Eric disapproving of Simon's dream of like being in movies. Simon's brother Eric in the comic books is a villain, a super villain called the Grim Reaper. He's nothing like his comic counterpart in this. And the Grim Reaper, I don't think I've read a single comic with him, but he wears like this crazy costume with like this like antler helmet or whatever. But in this, he's just like a disapproving brother who's like he's like the head of like a manager at like an insurance firm or whatever, and he's like, you should work with me and not keep pursuing acting because it seems like it's like a fool's errand. And he's like, I build things for mom. Look at this nice kitchen island that I built. And he's like even taller than Simon. So Simon seems kind of like inferior compared to Eric. And he's disapproving of his career choice. So he's nothing like that. However, I do really like the character of Eric in this because he's not evil. Like he's kind of an asshole when it comes to judging Simon's career choices, but it's understandable. He's just like a normal guy. He's friendly. He's charismatic, and he just has problems with. He thinks Simon's just wasting his time with a job that is it's like a dead end, And I think that they should have, if they weren't cowards, if the showrunners and the creators at Marvel weren't cowards, they would, in this episode, have every scene be shot and written the exact same way. And the only difference is you just put Eric in his stupid comic costume. But nobody acknowledges it. He's just walking around normally. And he's just at the party. And he's wearing his costume. If they weren't cowards and they actually cared about comic accuracy, that's what they would do. After episode 3, at the end of episode 3, they hear that they were picked to. They had a callback for the Wonder Man thing, so it's like they like their audition, so they're gonna like go and keep trying out. There's like 6 callbacks, so there's like they're in the running for Wonder Man. But we break from that episode, and we have episode 4, which is it's kind of like an anthology episode because it's completely separate from the main characters from the show. It's called Doorman, and it's about a character, Damar Davis, also known as Doorman. And this episode is the least like any other in the show. It's in black and white. It kind of reminds me, a lot of people have made this comparison, but it reminded me of Atlanta, the 3rd season of Atlanta. It had like these anthology episodes that were just unrelated to the main plot that were also in black and white of just like separate stories. And this episode, they mentioned that earlier in the show that there's this thing called the Doorman policy, which is a policy that prohibits people with superpowers being in Hollywood. And that's obviously a problem because Simon has to hide his powers that he has. And the Doorman episode is meant to explain why that policy is in place. And so we see like the career of the character Doorman. He starts off as like a club bouncer, like letting people in. There's this trash can that says Roxxon on it, and it has like this goo, this like black goo, and he touches it and he gets the powers of the Doorman powers, which I guess he can teleport, and also he's like a portal, like so you can walk through him and teleport somewhere. I think, is that the black goo and the Roxxon trash can, is that a Cloak and Dagger reference? I'm not. I watched the first season of that Cloak and Dagger show. They also get like goo on them or something from like a Roxxon oil rig. Is that a reference? Is that canon now? I mean, this show's not very good, but we'll not talk about that right now. I was actually going to talk about it because when I was talking about Simon's powers, I was like, I like how it looks, and I like how they didn't just do what like those old like Marvel shows used to do, like the Marvel's The Runaways I was thinking of, where just like his eyes glow. Because there's a character in The Runaways who has like powers, and the only thing that happens is just her eyes glow, and she's just strong. That's a lot of what those like cheap superhero shows. They'll just have like a character's eyes glow, and then they can just punch really hard or lift up something heavy that's like made out of foam in real life. So I'm glad that they went a step further to actually make it look, less generic. We're not talking about Cloak and Dagger on The Runaways. It's kind of like a loved or hated episode. When I first watched it, I think the goodwill that like the first 3 episodes built, and going into that, the 4th one, I was like, well, the first 3 episodes were amazing. And so I was more inclined to like give this one the benefit of the doubt. But I found it hard to get into at first, because it's like, it's meant to be like semi-comedic. Because it's like, the joke is he gets these powers and he's in a movie and then he becomes like famous, but then he loses his fame and he starts doing like commercials for laxatives and potato bags, and he becomes like a washed up celebrity. And Josh Gad is in it. He's playing himself. And at first, I don't know, it's so different from the rest of the show, because a lot of it is like, the rest of the show is like beautifully shot and everything seems so like authentic and raw. Like it seems like a lot of it was, I don't know, it doesn't have that same, well, I like a lot of the Disney Plus Marvel shows. A lot of them have like sort of like this artificial like sheen over them, where things seem like a lot of it was like tampered with in post, and there's like really obvious like green screen shots, and like a lot of the footage has like this like fog over it, like makes it seem like kind of fake. But this Wonder Man for the most part seems like real and like tactile and like just more of like a raw like a real TV show. And this Doorman one, it looks like it was like made by like a completely different team, because like the way it's framed is so uninteresting. A lot of it looks fake. Like a lot of the backgrounds, maybe it's just because of how the way they lit it for like the black and white. They just like, it seems like staged like a weird way, where it's like, it's not green screen, but it looks like they like framed it as if it was a green screen background. The actor for Doorman, like he plays it like a little bit too like goofy and too slapstick. He throws his head around. He's like, I think Josh Gad is in this, and he plays it a lot better. He's like, he plays like the goofy lines like a little bit more sincere. So like you kind of like, you laugh because it's like, oh, he's saying something stupid, but he's saying it like sincerely, because he's playing like an asshole version of himself.
He's saying he wants us to go through him.
But after that, we get into episode 6, which is like the shortest one. I don't even think it's 20 minutes long. But in this, we see the first and only time in the show that we see Simon's powers like with an action sequence attached to it. Because like these gangsters, like they're like hustling Trevor, because back when Trevor was, like deep into like his alcoholism and his like addiction, he made like, I guess he owed these people something. And then Simon fights them off. And again, the powers look really cool. It like shakes the ground. Like you see like water like shaking and all the sparks flying when he like throws someone or punches something. I love it. It's so cool. And then they spend the whole episode like trying to get this. Somebody took a video of Simon, and they're trying to get the video deleted, because if that video gets out, then he can't work in Hollywood ever. And then in the next episode, we see Trevor's audition for the Mandarin way back before Iron Man 3. And it's sad seeing him like, because ever since we find out that he's an actor in Iron Man 3, he's been like comedic relief, both in that movie and in Shang-Chi. But in this, they give him like, they make him like more like, they give him more dimensions. Just the idea that he was like an actor like a few years ago. It's funny because all the movies that the actor plays, like the Ben Kingsley, the actor for Trevor, plays in real life, Trevor Slattery played those roles in the Marvel Universe. So Ben Kingsley was like King Lear in like this play for Shakespeare, but in the Marvel Universe it was Trevor Slattery playing that instead. I wonder if his cameo, or if Ben Kingsley's episode of The Sopranos, it was Trevor Slattery instead. Like, because Ben Kingsley plays himself in an episode of The Sopranos. So maybe in that episode it's Trevor Slattery playing Trevor Slattery in The Sopranos. I don't know. Somebody get back to me on that. But yeah, he was in these roles. He got pretty popular. Then he succumbed to like alcoholism and addiction. And you see him. It's like a one shot of just his audition being filmed on this like shitty camcorder. He's like belligerent and he's like stumbling over his words. He can barely like keep his head straight. The guy that hired him like kind of like taking advantage of his condition. He probably just needs money to fund his addiction. And in this, he's like 13 years sober in the present day. I think it adds like another layer. I like how they develop the character of Trevor. And then they have this is the callback episode where they go to Von Kovac's like mansion, and they have like 4 other people. It's him, Trevor, and 4 other people that are pining for the role of Wonder Man. And Simon's like completely fucking it up. He's disappointing the Von Kovac guy. And they have this really great scene like out in the patio where he's like, the whole thing that Von Kovac and Trevor, they're trying to get Simon to just be true to himself and like show off like himself in the role and like kind of relate it to himself and be like, just be true and honest in his performance. But Simon's hang up with that is that like the real him, the superpowered, person wouldn't be able to work in Hollywood. So like he's closed off because he's afraid to show off his real self, because that'll prevent him to do the job that he has wanted to do since he was a kid. And Trevor's like, who you are is not just your condition. It's the sum of all your experiences, like the love you have, the things that make you angry, or the things that, just all the things that you've lived through, and all your emotions. And I thought that was a really great scene. And then before that, there's this really shocking scene where it's like a dream sequence where he punches through a guy's head. That blew my mind when I saw that. I was like, oh, this show's going in a lot different direction. But no, he's like sleep deprived because he's been awake for like so long. And then at the end of that episode, we find out that Simon has been cast for the role of Wonder Man, and Trevor was cast for like the second lead, so like Wonder Man's best friend. His name is Barnaby. The next episode, they've started like a week into production for the movie. We see Simon he's still kind of like kind of an asshole about picking apart the script and being like, I don't know about this thing. But he's nervous because there's this prolific interviewer named Kathy Friedman, who's going to be interviewing him on the set for Wonder Man. And she's like known for like character assassinating like famous actors by like noticing like little minuscule details about them. And he's worried that she's going to be able to find out about his like abilities by like studying just like his upbringing and like interviewing people that know him and know about his family. They know about his powers. And it's a really good bait and switch, because the whole episode, Simon and the audience, they're like, better make sure that Kathy doesn't find out about the ability and doesn't expose him about it. But what happens is, at the end of the episode, Kathy interviews Simon and Trevor together, and she starts grilling Trevor about, how are you not arrested? I saw a video of you getting detained by the FBI at the airport. How is it that you're not in prison right now? You must have made a deal with with the government or something. And he freaks out on her. And then that's when Simon confronts Trevor, and he finds out that Trevor has been spying on him for the Department of Damage Control, and he feels deeply betrayed. And Trevor, well, at first he was doing it to get out of prison. The two of them grow like a really close bond, and so much so that he's like, Trevor's doing anything he could to buy time. He was wearing a wire to his mom's birthday back in episode 3, but at the end of that episode, he throws out the wire and like destroys the recording. And yeah, so it's like they grew to become really close friends, but Simon finds out that the only reason they met in the first place is because he was planted there by the damage control. And it's also ironic because in the Wonder Man movie, the script that they're reading, Barnaby betrays Wonder Man, so it's like kind of the same as what's happening, because Trevor betrays Simon. And at the end of the episode, Simon has this big blow up where he just completely destroys like a sound stage for the movie. Like this whole building just crumbles and the set gets demolished because he flips out. And finally, in the finale, Simon is like, they're going to arrest me, damage control, because I exploded the set of the movie that I was working on. And also with Trevor's testimony, they have enough to just put me in prison. However, as an apology to Simon and a way to get him out of trouble, Trevor decides to reprise his role as the Mandarin. He puts on the full getup. He puts on the rings. Not the 10 rings. It is 10 rings, but not the 10 rings. And he records a video, just like the ones he did in Iron Man 3, of him like being like, that explosion in the Hollywood soundstage, that was me. Because he's like, Hollywood has been numbing the brains of the public, and I needed to get revenge or whatever. So the damage control arrests Trevor instead as the Mandarin, and Simon gets off scot-free, and he's able to be in the movie, act in the movie, because this is like, what his whole life has been leading up to, this role. And they're like, Von Kovac, the director for this movie, never misses a shoot day. And since Trevor was playing, the second lead, Simon is just talking in the scenes that he shoots. He's just talking to like a tennis ball, and they just like composite in the new actor for Barnaby. In the finished movie. In this case, it's Joey Pantoliano. He replaces Trevor as Barnaby, which is a funny reference that it's foreshadowed in the episode where he first shows up. And in that scene, he's wearing like the Wonder Man suit that they made for the movie. It looks so cool. He looks so good in it. It's a well-designed suit. He only wears it for one scene, unfortunately. But it makes sense narratively because this is just the suit for the movie. But it looks perfect. He also has like the movie star get up that Wonder Man has in the comic books, where it's like the blazer and like the turtleneck. I think it looks so great. And then the movie comes out and it's huge. And Simon's now like a famous actor. However, I have a question about Von Kovac, because he's like this accomplished director. And at the beginning, when he's getting like interviewed, he watches like an interview of Von Kovac, and the interviewer is like surprised that Von Kovac would make like a superhero reboot movie, because he seems like he's more of like an auteur, like more of an artistic visionary. And so I'm like, see, he's meant to be like some kind of like Christopher Nolan type director who like he does like big budget movies, but he's more like auteur driven. Maybe like more of like a Denis Villeneuve, who did like the Dune movies, where he's like more substantive, more substantive blockbuster movies. However, the one clip that we see from the Wonder Man movie in the theater, it looks like ugly. I know it's intentional probably to make it look ugly, because it's like, it looks just like a bad Hollywood movie now, where it's like, it looks like some of the bad Marvel movies where somebody's like comped into a fake looking background. I'm like, this is supposed to be like this super accomplished artistic director who's like, everybody's like, oh, he's a visionary. I don't know if that lines up. His agent is like, what you could choose any role in the world to do. What do you want to do next? And we hard cut to this small town in some state. I don't know where it is, like Nebraska or something. It's like a nice rural town. And Simon's like talking with this guy in a bar. His name's Chuck. He's like, yeah, I'm studying for a role. I just want to observe your life, and because I'm just trying to, I have a role. I guess he has a role that's like a small town guy, and he just wants to see like what a rural Nebraskan looks like. I know it's not. I don't know if it's Nebraska. I'm just gonna say it's in Nebraska. And the guy's like, yeah, and we follow Simon studying this guy, just living, eating dinner with him and like hanging out with him at the doctor's office, going on hikes, like going on jogs. And for a while, I'm like, what's going on? I wonder what this could lead up to. I like how it builds with that. Like, it builds intrigue where I'm like, all right, this is just still going on. I wonder what this could lead up to. And it turns out that the guy that Simon was studying works for the Department of Damage Control. And Chuck is like, I managed to get away for you to observe me while I'm working. I gave you this name. I'm going to pretend that you're a trainee just so you can see how my job goes. And it turns out Simon was using this like acting, like studying acting for a role plan to get into the damage control facility that Trevor is being kept at. And Simon breaks open the bars of Trevor's cell, grabs onto him, and then he showcases one final heroic feat as he lights up and the ground starts shaking, and he takes off flying into the air, and both of them, they shoot off like a jet out off into the sky, and then that's the end of the season. I think it's a really great, the show is just like a really great, the thrust of the show is just seeing the friendship between these two like form, just seeing them like, Trevor gives up his freedom, to save Simon's career, which is really tragic, just seeing him, go back to being the Mandarin and then get arrested, even though he has changed and Trevor's like a good, nice guy now. And then Simon returns the favor by, potentially ruining his career as a famous actor to break Trevor out. And it leaves the door open for a season 2. And luckily, Marvel announced a season 2 is in development, so I can't wait for that to come out. Oh, wait. This is where the tragic twist of this story takes place. Because I think, when was season 2 of Wonder Man announced? I forget. They announced that they were writing it a few months ago, I feel. And then when I saw that, I was like, nice. This is amazing. I assumed because Destin Daniel Cretton, he was making that Spider-Man 4, The Brand New Day. They like him, and they're like, let's give this guy more projects. Get back to work on your Wonder Man show, because that was great. And because they trust him with their properties, because he does really great. It's like, yeah, I guess they just want this guy to keep making stuff for them. And then Brand New Day comes out, and it just crushes. It's like one of the highest grossing movies ever. But then, like 2 weeks later, they announce, even though they had announced the season 2 as being in development, they announced that it's canceled now. And the actor posted like a thing being like, well, Wonder Man season 2 got canceled, but what can you do? That's just life. And like even the co-creator was like, yeah, it looks like almost everybody was like on board. Even like Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel, was like, yeah, I want to make this. I don't know why they canceled it. So it seems like this was a decision made by like the high ups at Disney to snuff this movie out, or the show out, the season 2 of this show out. And like, damn, like even after the movie directed by the co-creator of this did amazing, you're still like, yeah, fuck your show. I was so upset to see that. And I was like, even right after I saw season 1, before I even knew like a season 2 was going to be announced, I was like, I wonder what, how to follow up on this. I wonder what the next step would be in these characters' lives. And I wasn't expecting like, maybe a lot of people were expecting like for it to become like just like a full blown like superhero show. I was not. I did not want that to happen, nor did I think it would. And I think even when they were talking about it, back when the show was announced to have a season 2, they were like, it's not just going to turn to like a superhero, tried and true, traditional superhero show. It's going to stay true to the core of like being about actors. And I was always thinking in my head, but like, what could the follow up to this be? It depends though, like how they play the ending, because you could have it where Simon, it never comes out that Simon is the one that broke him out, because right before he breaks Trevor out of prison, he gives like a lot of money to the Chuck guy that he was studying. So he's probably like, that was Simon gave me that money, and so I'm not gonna like be like, oh yes, that was Simon Williams who I broke into. Also, he'd probably lose his job and get arrested for letting Simon Williams into the Department of Damage Control facility. So you'd be like, yeah, nobody knows it was Simon, and so Trevor is a fugitive, but not him, and Simon can just keep acting and being in movies, and also just hiding this fugitive. Or you could play it as to where it did get out that Simon broke him out, and both of them are on the run. However, that does make it harder if you want to do like them acting in Hollywood. But I had an idea where I was like, if it is true that Simon is on the run and Trevor, they could, dabble in international film productions, like not Hollywood, not the United States. Like one idea I had was Bollywood. They could go to Bollywood. And what other popular Marvel character is an actor in Bollywood? Kingo from the Eternals, that was my idea. You could have him show up, Kingo. The only other like actor character that we know, superhero from Marvel movies. I thought that would be cool. This is just a possibility though. New Asgard, they could have a part where they go to New Asgard, because they have like those plays with Matt Damon. They probably couldn't get Matt Damon back for this, or Sam O'Neill, rest in peace. They could recreate like a play from like the Thor: Love and Thunder. I thought that'd be funny. Like that, I thought that was a good possibility. Or like using their like similar to like Simon studying for a role as a cover to like get into damage control. They could use their acting like skills to like be like undercover, and like hide from authorities and like act and do like certain things to not get caught. I thought that would be interesting. But yeah, I don't know why Marvel canceled this. It's depressing, to say the least. I hope even if we don't get a season 2, that Wonder Man will return in some form, one way or another. I don't know where else. I mean, it could be in like a, because he does get into the Avengers. I don't know if he'll be in the Avengers in the MCU. It kind of seems like he's on a whole different like stratosphere compared to them. But yeah, that's the end of the story. It ended very tragic. I think there's a small chance that we could turn this around. Maybe we could save Wonder Man. If the show wins an Emmy, if Yaya wins the Emmy, I feel like they would have to be inclined to be like, let's rethink this whole canceling. They would have to re-announce the season 2. After announcing it and canceling, they would have to re-announce it, which I think is the most favorable outcome. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Wonder Man. Great show. One of the best. It's got to be top 3 like MCU Disney Plus show. Obviously, we're not counting Daredevil because that's not Disney Plus. I think this might sound crazy. I might have liked it better than Daredevil Born Again. And I'm a huge Daredevil fan. But I don't know, this one just felt so, it felt like a real, it's dumb saying this, but it felt like a real show. Like it had like a clear, concise vision behind it. It doesn't seem like it was like picked apart by like, like editing, like editors weren't like, all right, let's take this out and let's put this in, let's ADR this line. And yeah, I thought it was really amazing. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Wonder Man. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Next episode, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, really. I'm running out of things to talk about. I could keep rewatching Marvel shows. I could do that till the cows come home. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's all for this episode. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.